So, Chris Booth, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So we're here today to talk about humanizing recruitment. So to start, Chris, could you give us it'd be great to get some background for yourself and how you started Findrs.
So, like a lot of people in recruitment, I kind of fell into it, as a lot of people do. I am originally from Grimsby, and had a chance to get out of the town, which I think a lot of people from that town would take. Came to uni in Leeds, did a biomedical sciences degree, and at the end of that degree, I had a choice of either going back to Grimsby or finding a job pretty quick. So first interview I went to was for an agency, which I joined, and started my recruitment career in 2012, and from then just kind of fell in love with the industry. And my first market, it was working for IT storage consultants across the UK. Quickly got moved into a different team, which was a headhunter team for Germany, working in the virtualization and cloud market there. Then joined another firm after being successful at that first one. Went to a company called LaFosse, who are a big search firm down in London, and quickly got the bug to wanted to try and create something for myself. The reason the bug kind of came around was that there was always this sour taste in the mouth about recruiters. They were kind of seen as a kind of necessary evil, and it was different when you compared it to people who paid a legal fee or an accountancy fee or anything else within a professional service. Those were fees that were well justified, but recruitment, it was always, can we do this ourselves? And I didn't really understand that. And so we went to go and speak to a lot of people and said, what would make it a justifiable fee, or what would make it, easier to make that, to pay that fee? And a lot of people came back with the same kind of topic of, I just don't feel like you're providing a service. You work this niche market, you send us a load of CVs, and somewhere down the middle, we have to pay you, a 7, 8, 9, 10 grand fee. So we kind of said, well, that's a big problem in the market. It's pretty widespread and it's a pretty common viewpoint. What can we do to go and change that? And that's where kind of Findrs was born, and we wanted to kind of push recruitment back into professional services. So we started that in 2018 and been growing ever since.
What were the parts of the industries that you fell in love with originally?
I think it was working with people. I can remember being a kid always saying that I would never work behind a desk because that would be really boring. My dad's an accountant, and just the idea of working on spreadsheets all the time was pretty boring. But in recruitment, all you did all day was talk to people, and you got to kind of do a bit of sales, a bit of management, a bit of everything. So that's what I really loved, that I can just talk to people all day and make a successful career out of it, and help people. That was the other thing, that everyone that we were working with was generally in a pretty good place. We could help them find a better job or some great talent. So yeah, just kind of being a good person to people to help them out.
Could you draw out some of those negative views, and which do you think are justified and which perhaps not so much?
100%. I mean, I think that the fundamental model of recruitment is flawed. So if you break it down, a lot of recruitment agencies, the reason why they're so niche, so tech sales within Manchester would be a typical market, and you want to try and bring that candidate base to around 10,000. So your candidate market is these 10,000 people, and your role is to work that market, mine out talent via ads, LinkedIn, GitHub, whatever kind of method you've got, until someone puts their hands up and says, yeah, I've just had a fight with my boss, or I've just had a baby and I need a bit of a change in my career. Your role as a recruitment agent then is to get that person's CV and to spam it out to every head of sales, sales director, CRO within a 35-mile radius of that person's postcode. And somewhere down the middle, you send it to 200 people, and somewhere down the middle, someone puts their hands up and goes, yeah, I need that person, and I'm desperate enough. I've been looking 6 months. I'll engage with you, and there'll be a contract agreed and hopefully kind of a placement made, but then a begrudgingly paid fee. And I think that's the kind of thing that people don't like, is that they're not kind of paying for a service that's been provided on the behalf of the client that's paying. And that's where the bad habits kind of come from. We talk about recruiters don't get back to candidates or clients. They're typically unresponsive, which is probably the biggest gripe in the market, because they're they're automating their processes so that, you know, they're in contact with like 200, 300 people at a time, you know, sending CVs out, or 200, 300 candidates who have applied to a role. You know, they're only going to pick out the ones that they want to talk to and leave the rest. And it's that probably that upsets most people, that, you know, they're in the dark and they don't know what's happening, and recruiters just kind of work that machine and, you know, only work with the people that are going to generate them a fee, and that annoys a lot of people. So I'd say that's where it kind of really kind of the root is from.
And so who are you helping and with Findrs' different approach?
So our approach is that we do something similar to an executive search. So if you think of the kind of top end of the recruitment industry, you have your executive search functions like Korn Ferry, Heidrick and Struggles, the big players. Typically, you would pay an engagement fee of like 30% upfront, 30% on a shortlist being sent, and the final, you know, 40% on completion. And that's really expensive, high risk for anyone. We wanted to give access to that model to anyone that wanted to work that way. So in 2018, that's what we took to market and said, we're going to do a dedicated search, but it's only going to be on fee and success. So we're going to do that. And we worked with everyone in the early days. We made placements at companies like, you know, Rackspace, big cloud provider, and other companies that, you know, people would know. But we were also working with startups at the time, and it quickly transpired to us that we were much more valuable, and startups were much more valuable to us as we were to them. So in February 2020, we decided, which was a bit, not knowing what was coming around the corner, we decided to ditch all of our enterprise customers in that February, kind of looking at what's going on in China, thinking, crikey, they're building all these hospitals and it looks crazy out there. I hope it doesn't come over here. But then the pandemic hit, and we kind of doubled down on it and said, no, we want to kind of focus in the startup market, you know, pre-seed to Series B, building, you know, really high quality core teams for high growth businesses in their early days. And we did that. And what then kind of evolved was, you know, us keep kind of working to the terms of, we want to be the no-brainer option for startup recruitment. So what that kind of then transpired to was, well, what other services can we provide? So we went to a lot of our founders and said, you know, we want to be this no-brainer option. What does that look like? And a lot of them came back and said, actually, we need some help with not just you finding who to hire, but we don't even really know what to hire. You know, we know what our milestones are and what our goals are, but we need some help kind of shaping out the organizational chart. So we kind of put our heads together and said, well, you know, we know what all the good startups are doing. You know, we've got a pulse on that. Why don't we kind of put something together? So we put together a growth planning workshop where we literally come in with a bunch of hats with all the different accountabilities that you would have within a startup. And we'd get the founders in a room and we'd say, you're wearing these hats, you know, CTO, you're wearing these hats, COO, you're wearing these hats. These are the milestones that we've got over the next 12 months, 24 months. You know, maybe it's get 10,000 users on the platform, or raise a Series A in 18 months, whatever it might be. And then we would build the team geared towards that with a kind of a strategic long-term view. So we weren't kind of, you know, getting to 10,000 users and then being thinking, what do we do now? Oh, we need some more devs because we need to put more product features in because all these users are asking for things. You know, we try and kind of blend it into a growth plan. And that's been really successful. We've booked another 2 in this week because, you know, lots of people want to kind of think about what they're going to be doing for 2024, kind of putting these growth planning workshops in. So that's who we're helping. We're helping startups at the kind of early stage kind of figure out, you know, what their talent journey is going to be for the first kind of couple of years, helping them decide on what to hire and then helping them find the who.
And what are the unique challenges that early stage startups need to consider before they start scaling?
So it's always going to be cash, right? Startups have got, you know, their burn rate kind of tattooed onto their mind. And if you make the wrong hire, that can be pretty catastrophic. You know, if you take on a mid-level engineer, that's going to cost you, you know, 60 to 70K a year, plus, you know, all your kind of add-ons to that with your pension, national insurance, and the kind of benefits. And making the wrong hire can, you know, waste a lot of money when, you know, startups don't have a lot of that cash. So that's the one thing, making sure that you hire the right people. And you'll hear, you know, lots of great startup founders kind of talk about, you know, we only hire with the view that we wouldn't be able to make anyone cut anyone within the first 2 years. And if that was the truth, if it was a law that we couldn't fire anyone, you know, who would we hire? You know, would we be taking these risks? And that's very much a kind of mantra that we work to. If we're looking on a shortlist and we're looking at who we're going to offer, it's usually got to be the case. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. It's got to be that hell yes. So I'd say it's being able to kind of put the framework and the attitude around that risk is the biggest challenge to make sure you make the right calls.
So how are Findrs making the recruitment industry better?
So I think one is we provide more of a service. We're not just kind of spamming CVs out to every kind of startup in the market. We're going out there, making relationships, building companies. And we're also working, within the ecosystem. We partner with great companies like 300 Brains for people or companies that need to kind of flex in and out of kind of their talent and whether they don't need to take people on perm, that kind of thing. We also kind of partner with accelerators, NEDs and advisors to help people if they don't have that kind of, if they've got like a strategic gap at the top but can't take a permanent person on. So we do a lot of things just to try and make sure that we can make our customers successful with a view that the more successful our customers are, the more successful we'll be. So, this isn't from a purely altruistic place. It's just really good business that, the more successful our customers are, we'll kind of carry into that. So I'd say that's one. We're kind of providing a service that's based on making our customers more successful. Two, we have quite a different commercial model where we share the risk for 6 months and we can allow our customers to pay off those placements over 6 months. Typically, you'd pay one fee on start date with a 3-month rebate on it. We kind of saw that, or we heard from our founders that they wanted more flexibility with that and for us to share a bit more risk. So we kind of put a split fee term in where you can pay things over 6 months and share that risk to make us honest in terms of placing the right people and making sure we're finding the right people for those companies.
And that's quite unique, isn't it? I think that's that really makes Findrs stand out. And thank you for the nod to 300 Brains. And I think where we fit into that is really in that period, as you say, when you're growing and each hire is quite high risk, and we can help bridge that risk both in terms of onboarding someone quickly whilst you're finding the right person, but also being able to flex the team and scale up and down with demand as the company is developing the product.
100%. And it's that, anything to offset the risk is going to be useful for a startup, and being able to, and every startup works at a rate of knots. So you've got this kind of, we need to act or act slowly to make sure we make the right decisions, but we need to move quickly because, we need to build the products out, or we need to find the go-to market or whatever it might be. And having that kind of choice is massive for clients to be able to kind of bridge that gap before they find, the right person and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really refreshing to be partnering with Findrs and sharing our view at 300 Brains in terms of working with clients to find what works best for them, because it's better to have that long-term relationship where we can help the company grow and find the right model for building the team at that time and create those long-term relationships than just, as you say, the previous view of just getting as many CVs out to the market as possible.
That's it. Yeah, and that's like I say, that's the biggest gripe, is that if our service was just, send us a JD and we're going to use an AI platform just to kind of match 30 CVs and get them across and then feel like we've provided a service, it's not going to work. It's always going to be what's going to make the customer most successful. And
just to close, what is your vision for the future, either for Findrs or for the recruitment industry as a whole?
I mean, for Findrs, there will be some growth. We believe the recruitment market has been challenging over the last 9 months, or even kind of longer actually, since the valuation crash over in the States in the summer of 22. But we believe there will be growth. Since September this year, there's been some really exciting kind of movement with VCs investing in new portfolio businesses, which has kind of had a direct effect on our job flow. So we're pretty excited about what's going to be happening over the next year. In terms of the recruitment market, I kind of sit on a very agnostic point of view around, I think AI and technology will worsen the issues around agencies just kind of spamming CVs, and there's already kind of platforms where you can scrape job ads and you can then scrape candidates and just kind of do the matching thing for you, which I think would be, slightly, causes me to worry a little bit. But at the same time, startups and scale-ups, they want a good service and they can do those things themselves, but they will come to companies like Findrs to actually provide the service that they need to find the best talent, the best team for them. And that still takes a lot of time to go out there, find, screen, qualify and manage those people through and attract them into the business. So a cautiously optimistic kind of place I think we're in terms of recruitment.
Final question. What is your advice to startups for how they can put people at the center of their growth plan?
Yeah, really good question. I think always thinking about what you can get the most, how you can get the most out of people. People who want to work in startups are typically, we call them startup junkies. They'll typically kind of work in startup to startup because they like that kind of pace. And if you're not pushing those people to help them develop and grow and get new experiences, they're going to get frustrated pretty quick. Even if they're a junior person, they're probably on a steeper learning curve than others. So, and this is a thing that we see missed by quite a lot of founders. They want to build something, they need a new product, they need to go to market, they need to build the operation around the company. And then the kind of learning and development, coaching, mentoring can sometimes be left by the wayside a little bit because the focus is just on the company and growing the metrics. So I'd say one thing that can be really beneficial, and I've got a great client in wind farm optimization, funnily enough, who is a CEO, and he's just started to do his coaching course because he wants to be able to coach the junior and mid-level members of his team to get the most out of them, which is always going to be a win-win. You're going to be getting more out of your team, but your team's also getting more the most out of their career opportunity at working in your startup. So I would say make sure there's that focus on L&D, keeping people engaged, pushing people. I think that's how you keep them at the center of the growth plan.
Chris Booth, thank you so much for your time, and all the best.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers.